right, speed. We're going to learn about speed. Speed is a measure of how far a thing goes in a certain length of time. So how far something goes is a distance, and how long it takes is the time that it takes. So distance and time are important to determine the speed of an object. Because time is involved, I want to make sure we all know how to change hours into minutes and even minutes into seconds, and backwards. For example, well, the super easy one is, let's change 1 hour into minutes. So we have 1 hour, and someone says, well, I don't want to know how many hours, I want to know how many minutes. So what is that in minutes? 1 hour in minutes, it's obviously 1 times 60 minutes, because there's 60 minutes in an hour. 1 times 60 is 60 minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes, right? We all know that. What if I said half an hour? Half an hour is 1/2 times 60 minutes, all right? 1/2 times 60 is 30 minutes. All right. And now if I said, what about 0.25 hours? How many minutes is that? Well, we would do exactly the same as we did up here. 0.25 times 60 minutes. Times 60 is, oh, that's funny. It's 1/4 of 60 minutes, and that's 15 minutes, right? So in this way, we can change any number of hours into minutes by multiplying by 60, right? That's what we did over and over and got the number of minutes. We could even go from minutes to seconds, right? 60 minutes. How many seconds is that? Well, it's 60 minutes, and each minute has 60 seconds, so 60 times 60 seconds, which is that many seconds. Okay. 0, 0. Okay, we could do the same here. 30 minutes is then 30 times 60 seconds is 1800 seconds, right? Etc. So going from minutes to seconds, we also multiply by 60. So now what if we wanted to go straight from hours to seconds? We would go multiply by 60, multiply by 60 again, which is, in short, just multiplying by 60 times 60 . 3,600, right? So to go from hours to minutes, we multiply by 3,600, which is why 1 hour is 3,600 seconds, right? We show that there. All right, what if we wanted to go backwards? That's pretty obvious as well. Let's say we wanted to go, we said we have 60 minutes. Well, what is that in hours? This one's super obvious. We all know 60 minutes is 1 hour. 60 divided by 60 is 1 hour, right? What if we wanted to go start with 30 minutes? Well, that is 30 minutes divided by 60 minutes is 1/2 of an hour, right? And in that same way, you could do 36 minutes. How many hours is that? Well, it's a little more than a half, right? We know that. 36 divided by 60 that is actually 0.6 hours. So 36 minutes is 0.6 hours, which makes a lot of sense because it's a little more than half, and 0.6 is also a little more than half. 30 minutes is half an hour, we all know that. So apparently we just divide by 60 to go from minutes to hours. Right? Divide by 60. Okay, something else. Speed is distance per time. So we need to know a little bit about distance as well. Just to remind you, going from kilometers to meters, what do? Well, the word kilo actually means 1,000. So when we say a kilometer, we're actually saying 1,000 meters, right? So how many meters are in a kilometer? There's 1,000. So if I said I am going to drive 2 kilometers, and you asked me, well, how many meters is that? You just multiply by 1,000 to get 2,000 meters. Right? That makes sense. And then going from meters to kilometers, that's the inverse. So we divide by 1,000. All right, so if I said I walked 1,500 meters, someone asked me, what is that in kilometers? I just divide my 1,500 meters by 1,000 to tell you that I walked 1.5 kilometers, right? Okay, now speed. Speed is a measure of how fast a thing goes, yeah? So if I have a high speed, I go fast. If I have a low speed, that means I'm going slow, right? That makes a lot of sense. The formula for speed is distance, how far I go, divided by the time it takes me to go that distance. Yeah? This formula makes a lot of sense because we know that, say the time was set and the distance that we go in that set time goes up. So when distance goes up, we go further in that certain time. That means we had a higher speed, right? If the distance is set, we go a certain distance, a set distance, and it takes us longer to go that distance, so time goes up, that means we were going slower, right? That's why time is the denominator. As time goes up, speed goes down. As distance goes up, speed goes up, right? We go farther in a certain time, that means we went faster. We take longer to go a certain distance, that means our speed was lower. The time went up, the time we took went up, that means the speed went down. We were going slower. Okay, using this formula, you can answer all sorts of cool questions. Like, I could ask you, what is my speed? Oh wait, I should tell you, speed is often measured in kilometers per hour, like on the freeway. A car drives a certain number of kilometers per hour. Your speedometer shows that. Some other objects, things moving, are measured in meters per second. Really any units would work, but these are ones that we see often. All right, if I said I traveled 50 kilometers in 2 hours, I can now ask, what was my speed? My speed was The distance in kilometers, 50 kilometers. The time it took me, 2 hours. So 50 by 2, 25 kilometers per hour. Kilometers per hour. If I said I went 500 meters, not kilometers, but meters, in 4 hours, and someone asked me what my speed was in kilometers per hour, I would notice, wait, I have meters here, but they want my speed in kilometers per hour. So I'm going to have to change my 500 meters into kilometers. Well, meters into kilometers, I have to divide by 1,000, right? So 500 divided by 1,000 is actually 0.5, right? My time was already in hours, so I just write 4. Yeah? And this is 0.125 kilometers per hour. Okay? Now, things can get a little more difficult if there's actually 2 units that we need to change. Let me give you an example. Say our speed is 600 meters per second, and someone asks us to give that speed to them, not in meters per second, but in kilometers per hour. That is annoying, you might think, but look, 600 meters per second. We want to change the top into kilometers. Let's do that first. Let's just take 2 steps so we can take it slowly. 600 meters is how many kilometers? Well, we have to divide by 1,000, right? To get kilometers. Per, let's leave it at seconds, so per 1 second, right? We can divide 600 by 1,000, that's 0.6 kilometers. Okay, so we got 0.6 kilometers per second, per 1 second. All right, next step would be to change the seconds into hours, right? They want hours. Remember how to go from hours to seconds, we multiply by 3,600. So obviously to go from seconds to hours, we divide by 3,600. Divide by 3,600. I'm just writing that down so I don't forget. I have 0.6 kilometers. And my seconds, I'm going to change to hours, so I'm going to say 1 second, but divide it by 3,600. That will give me hours. So this will be kilometers per hour. All right. 1 divided by 3,600. This is the tricky part. We are dividing by a fraction, right? See that? 0.6 divided by 1 over 3,600. Dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its inverse. The inverse of 1 over 3,600 is multiplying by the inverse. The inverse is actually 3,600, right? Let me say that again. We're dividing by 1 over 3,600, so we're dividing by a fraction. That is the same as multiplying by the inverse of 1 over 3,600, and this is the inverse of 1 over 3,600. All right, and that will give us kilometers per hour. Now we just have to do the multiplication, and that will give us, I used my calculator for this, or I just spent a little time thinking hard, 2,160 kilometers per hour. So you can change speeds that use two units, where you change both units into a different unit, right? You can change meters per second into kilometers per hour, or the other way around, right? These could be anything. If you're careful like I am, you just take 2 steps. First, you change one of the units, right? Change it into kilometers per second. Then you change the next unit. Change the seconds into hours, right? Okay.